When we're trying to understand enemy tactics and doctrine, it can be useful to look at how the Soviet Union decided to set up their tank platoons, because it really reflects a broader cultural understanding of what they did and how a lot of nations today still operate, because it's very different than how the Western nations fight. Normally with a Western nation, a tank platoon is 4 tanks. You have a platoon leader that can go with his wingman as one section, and a platoon sergeant that can go with his wingman and go do something else. And they can cover different flanks. They can go do different things. They can do a support by fire, attack by fire. A lot of cool options that you can do when you can break a platoon down into 4 tanks. But it requires that strength of leadership in the non-commissioned officer, the NCO, whether it be a platoon sergeant or section leader, whatever it is over there. The Soviet-style units do not operate like that. They are almost always in groups of 3. And that is because the platoon leader, the guy in one tank, has almost all the responsibility. The Soviet-style units do not develop a strong NCO corps. There are no sergeants that can take the weight off the platoon leader. He is responsible for just about everything, not just the normal officer stuff like, planning and movement and decision making, but he also has to worry about discipline and sustainment and making sure that troops are taken care of. So he is very much an overwhelmed person. He cannot let people go off and do whatever they need to do. He is going to, as they move, he's going to have a guy on his right and a guy on his left, and they're going to be bound at the hips and do everything together. It is very, very difficult in Soviet-style units to break off into separate elements unless it's being tasked off as like a single tank to a rifle platoon. So that is one of the weaknesses, the biggest weaknesses of the old Soviet-style tactics, is that there is no junior leadership. This guy does not trust his junior let's say leadership. It's not really leadership. He does not trust his junior soldiers to make decisions on their own. And likewise, his commander does not trust him to make decisions on his own. Everything is very pre-prescribed. If things go wrong, if the plan doesn't go according to how they expect it to go, it can very much fall apart very quickly, because he is not able to adapt in the same way that a platoon leader expects his platoon sergeant to make good decisions, and the commander expects the platoon leader to adapt the plan as the situation develops. So keep that in mind. It's very much a weakness of how Soviet-style and modern enemy threat nations operate. And if you understand this, you can kind of predict their behavior a lot more. Because when it's just a platoon leader making decisions, it's much easier for their plans to fall apart.